Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are back here with Leaping Lotus Fit. Our friend Leelah Carpenito is joined by us once again. Exciting to have you here. It's been a little bit of a hiatus. Leelah, how was everything with you and your family and your business?
Oh my God, it was great. I know we took a little break over the holiday season, but I'm ready to go.
You look great. You look tan. Were you away recently?
Wish. I wish I was. No, I know.
What's the pink background? You seem very, I know usually when people look good, it's because they've had sun, they were on vacation, or something positive's going on, or that's just you. Good.
It's just me. And yes, I've been working hard. We're back at it. No, everything is great. Leaping Lotus is wonderful. I'm back with fresh new ideas, new programming. I took a little hiatus because I've been doing a lot of writing. So
Right.
yeah, I was feeling really inspired. And so I've been writing some ebooks, and I just had a lovely conversation this morning with, she actually came to one of my retreats last summer. I met her, one of my retreats. I can't remember which one. Anyway, she happens to be a Ukrainian woman who I know, but I adore. And we had a really heartfelt conversation, and we were kind of brainstorming. She called me and she's like, "What do we do?" And I said, "Well, here's the thing." I said, "The big problem is that there's just no empathy anymore." I'm like, there's just a really deep fundamental lack of understanding, of humanity and like what's going on, like hitting our roots. Like this literally is a root chakra issue, where we can't identify, where we don't know who we are, what we're doing, why we're doing it. And there's no connection, like human to human. So anyway, we had this whole lovely conversation, and she said, some schools are starting to teach this. And this is where my funny comment comes in. I said, "It's so funny." I said, "I don't know why."
Yeah.
I sat down and I started writing an ebook. I was translating in yoga. We have the 8 limbs of yoga, which is Patanjali wrote the Yoga Sutras. And I did this little 2-minute blurb. A couple weeks ago, I posted it on my Facebook page about what yoga is, because there's also like there's this disconnect. And it was kind of just like this informative thing of like, hey guys, this is what we're doing here. When we use that word, it's a whole experience. It's a whole body. It's like, how am I connecting to the world? How am I connecting to myself? Am I being honest? Am I being truthful? Am I stealing? And what does stealing mean? Like harming stuff. Like, for example, when I know that I have a wheat issue, right? I can't digest wheat for whatever. I'm just picking a topic.
Yeah.
But I have it anyway because I want it. And then afterwards I pay the consequences. That's self-harming. And we've all done this on small scales, like I shouldn't have that extra glass of wine, but then we pay the price. But there's a component to that hurts us. There's an energetic component. We're hurting ourselves by making these choices. So we had this whole lovely conversation, and I was sharing with her what I had started to write. And we started talking about this whole empathy thing. And I said, that's it. I'm like, it has to start from empathy. I said, maybe we have to start talking about empathy, because she kept saying, "Lina, what do we do? Leelah, what do we do? What do we do?" I have a 12-year-old son, and I'm teaching him at home. But there's so many parents that there's just a general lack of it's not taught. And I know but you know what I'm saying. So as always, every time I'm here, Jill, I always start my day with some sort of story, because this is like real.
That's a real life. And I know we're getting into addictions today, right?
Yeah. But this is real.
Yeah.
Like this has happened.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd share. But yes, we are getting into addictions today, so we can talk about that. That's also been really amazing. I've had a couple of clients who have been my inspiration. And I've actually asked them to join our podcast, and they said that they would. So at some point,
good. We'll have some. Perfect. That's great.
I would love to have some guests, because I think rather than hearing it from me, people want to hear it from other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to coordinate that with them and
Great.
try to get 2 people. But I have so many fabulous stories. Addicts are people. They're just people.
Mm-hmm.
They're people.
Yeah.
They're just lovely human beings, just
Mm-hmm.
like me and you. And I think what happens so many times is they get stuck with this label. Um, and there's a lot of shame around it. It's nobody's, we like to blame. There's this
Mm-hmm.
blame thing that happens, blame and shame and labels and all this stuff that comes with it. And I've been told by a lot of my clients, they steer away from some of the programming. Although I have had clients, I have to say, that have had really great success with AA, and awesome for them. It's like it has to work, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times, what happens in these programs, and I'm generalizing. Please understand, everybody. This is very general. Um, there's like this expert kind of level that's set where there's this I know better than you kind of approach, where there's a talking down to, where there's almost like a scolding, and there's a you have to, and these are the expectations, and you know what, that person is already
Always.
they're first of all they already know they have an addiction, so why do you need to label it?
Mm-hmm.
An addict doesn't want to be called an addict by an official person.
No.
What does that accomplish?
Yeah.
And an addict is not going to get um, better by someone nagging them. And you know what? Let's talk about the naggers for a second,
Yes.
because it comes from a good place.
Mm-hmm.
And my answer always is, wow, that person must really love you and want this for you, for your family, for your friends, and for all of your outside, for the world, to push you into this. Very rarely does that have sustainable results. Very rarely. Um, because it has to come from you. In every scenario, it has to come from inside. Something inside of you has to be bigger and more powerful than your addiction. And so there's so much to talk about here. It's fear, they're afraid.
Yeah.
They're afraid of failure, right? They're afraid of loss. There's a
Mm-hmm.
grieving process, because that addiction serves something for them, whatever it might be, whether it's food, shopping, gambling, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Watching too much TV. Doesn't matter what it is, but that's filling a void. That's filling something in their hearts, in their inner being, that they don't know what they are going to be like when you take that away. So there's this taking away feeling, like that's really scary. Imagine like you've been smoking your whole life, and the
Yeah.
thought of taking that cigarette away.
Absolutely.
So what do we do?
Tell us. You're the expert, unless you want me to say, but uh, what do we do? We need you.
What do we do? So this approach it's a soft approach. I am never ever putting myself here, right? It's a collaborative conversation. It's a let's meet each other where we're at. Let's
Mhm.
be real. Um, and you know what? And it's okay if you're not ready, because it may take time. It may be a conversation. Even, you know what? Chew on this. Think about it. Call me in a month, and
Mhm.
and let me know how you're doing. And let's have like maybe monthly check-ins for a while and see, because change. We've talked about this, Jill. Like even with eating, I think we talked about this with eating. Just in general, change is so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. It's so hard to even get in an extra glass of water some days, some
You
days,
reminded me. Uh-huh.
right? I mean, it's really hard. It's really hard to get out of bed an extra half hour early so you can exercise. So you're asking someone to give up something that they've identified with for
Yeah.
however long, it doesn't matter, however long. You're hitting them in their root, like
Mhm.
that's who they are. That's what they know. And so to do all this, you know, bullet point kind of like you have to do this, you have to no. It's like really picking it apart and getting real. I like to say it's like getting real, getting into the nitty-gritty of Let's figure this out together. Let's brainstorm. Let's talk about what's going to inspire you. Imagine what your life would be like without this. Could you even
Yeah.
imagine what your life would be like without this? And let's talk about, it's scary. And then, we have to investigate, what do we do to fill that void? Maybe it's yoga. Yoga's not for everybody. Maybe
No.
it's walking. Maybe it's, sometimes people swap out one addiction for another. So there's a lot of play here. But the client tells me, I don't tell them. It's about empowering them. It's about sustainable change for them. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just here to bounce ideas off with you,
Mm-hmm.
support you. And a lot of times that's one of the things that's so fundamentally different with psychotherapy and with traditional therapies, because they come from that expert approach.
Mm-hmm.
They come from a let's diagnose approach. They need to call it something. Trust me when I tell you, the addict knows, whether they're in denial or not, whether they've been in and out of rehab a million times, whether they're fighting it, they know. They know. They're living it every day. They're living in a way that you can't imagine, right? For them, that struggle is so profound inside of them. They don't need to be told.
Yeah.
They need to be held.
Yep. Held and helped, guided.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the program that, and this kind of all came about because I was asked to actually, one of my addiction clients asked me to speak at one of his meetings, and I did. And then it kind of snowballed, into
Yeah.
um, a whole, I don't know, guest speaker thing. Go figure.
Motivational speaker, you are for sure. Clearly, you motivate people every day. What you're doing right now, what you do for your business, for your, it's clearly you're a motivator. So yeah, you're a motivational speaker, not
Thank you.
just a guest speaker. I
No,
like good. Just saying.
yeah. But yes, and that's one of the things that we tackle, because there's it there is no motivation. Getting the motivation to change, really focusing on the pros and the cons of change and lack, and their life with the comfort of they've identified, I'm using this man as an example. You'll meet him at some point. Life of the party, I was always drunk. The life of the party. Like, what do you mean I'm going to go to a party without alcohol? It was really scary for him.
Mm-hmm.
Really scary for him to show up and not be drunk. And he actually, it was really beautiful to watch his transformation. And it happened very quickly. That's the other thing too. Everyone thinks they get stuck in this therapy trap of years and years and years. Sometimes it's just one conversation. It doesn't have to be this long, lingering thing. Like, I'm not holding anybody to health and wellness coaching for life. I mean,
Yeah.
please, if you want to come, great, that's fine.
Sure, but yeah.
But the goal is for results. The goal is for change. The goal is to help you thrive. The goal isn't for me to,
Mm-hmm.
to be a client hoarder,
Yep.
to keep people, because that's not what it is. It's kind of like sort of like you plant the seed and you watch the flower grow. And then when the flower blooms, it's time to share the flower with everybody else.
Yeah, true.
That's how I see it. And so, because then from that, they'll take that and their experience and they'll share it with somebody else. And somebody else will kind of feel it's like this kind of give and take relationship. That's how I see the coaching world, and where it is very different, where we're so used to going to a medical doctor and giving us instructions, where it says take this twice a day, do this, don't do that. You have to lose 10 pounds. This is very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not directing. I'm not directing anything. I'm navigating what you are bringing to me. So it's a team. It's really a team effort.
Yeah. And let me ask you, we're talking about addictions today here. Just to remind everyone, Leelah, Carpenito. By the way, we didn't establish your website, which is
leapinglotusfit.com.
perfect. So addiction of any sort, you're talking not just drugs, alcohol. People think that, but there's also food addictions. There's also personality addictions. There's a lot of addictions, and
anything that you
Mhm.
it's the relationship that you have with the thing that makes it it's the difference between me having one glass of wine and saying I'm done versus the person who can't have that one glass, but there's a thought, even the thought. I have the greatest example, another retreat example. This woman called me, this happened last summer too. And she started asking me about all these questions about, is alcohol permissible on the retreat? And what do I do? And I'm really gentle with it. And I said, you know what, it's not the kind of format where I provide, because it's not like,
Yeah.
together. There's a retreat, there's an itinerary, there's an agenda. I said, but I have no problem with people bringing and having a social, there's a fire pit. It's beautiful at night. I mean, the nighttime sky there, like you feel like you're so close to the stars that you could reach up and grab them. So it's like that fine line of you encourage people to come together however they feel comfortable. Well, this woman shared with me, and she said, I'm just going to be very open with you. I'm an addict. And she said, I just wanted to see if there was going to be any alcohol there. She said, you know what? I'll be fine. I'm coming and I'm going to be fine. And she really was so awesome because she said it wasn't the 2 glasses of wine I was having every day. She said, when I realized I had a problem, it was, I found myself going like this with my watch. Is it time yet? Is it time yet? Is it time yet? She said, and I was waiting for 5 o'clock. And she said, I could taste it in my mouth and I can hear the bottle open. She said, it was the story I was creating in my head.
Wow.
And she said, I never got drunk. She has 2 teenage kids, like in the younger teens. She said, I would go out with my husband. I had a 2-drink limit. I was never out of control. So everybody thought I was crazy when I said to them, no, I think I have a problem. And it was her relationship that she was having towards it. And she said, it was really hard for me to stop because it was pulling her. It was like sucking in.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It doesn't have to be a, eat the entire refrigerator kind of thing. It doesn't have to. We always think addictions to be extreme, but they're not. It doesn't have to be. It can just be that the attitude, the dialogue, it's anything that's nagging you here. Like, I have to buy this. I have to buy this. I have to buy this. I have to buy, like now I have to get in the car and I have to buy this now. It's that kind of pulling, where it gets that's where
Unhealthy.
Yeah, it's unhealthy. So that's my encouragement. Ayurvedic yoga therapy is a little different because we look at the root cause. So Ayurveda sees the mind as the entire body, right? So at the cellular level, the mind is everywhere. But we go back and we look at history, and sometimes it helps. We go back and understand. We help connect dots. And I think that it helps sometimes for people when we can connect dots and say, oh, I see the correlation here. I understand why and how this happened. And when you understand the why, it can shift a lot of things, but that's just another perspective on it too. That's, I would say in most cases, health and wellness coaching is a much more familiar approach for people. It's motivational interviewing, which is about positive psychology. It's about how can we look at this from a different angle? It's not like nobody wants the beat down. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah.
What's that about? Doesn't work.
Wow. And so, with leapinglotusfit.com and all the work you do, clearly addiction is one of the big things. What are some of the things that, how do you work with an addict? I mean, the first thing I would assume, again, I'm no expert, what you would need from them is the acknowledgement that I have a problem from there. And then how does it start to decrease someone's addiction to something? How does it all pan out?
I will tell you, in most cases, when the client calls me themselves, that already tells me they're ready to do something.
Okay.
When I get a call from a wife or a husband or a sibling or a friend, I will never say no. I will never, ever, ever say no to anyone. But that tells me that the person is
Yep.
less likely to, they're being forced to
Mm-hmm.
change. Um, so I'm always kind of skeptical there.
Yep.
And when I meet with the person, I give them a ton of leeway. Like, look, there's like, I'm here, but like, this is what needs to happen.
And how
But,
often do you meet with them? And what is the process of
so
talking the phone, Zooms? I mean, in person, obviously.
yes, so that's on a case by case basis, because the thing is, lots of people are already at this point either in some sort of support group, like AA or smoking cessation groups or Eating Anonymous or something. They may have had an experience with a therapist, and it may be ongoing and it may not. It depends. So I almost need to see where coaching would fit into what's going on there,
Got it. Okay.
where I could support. So the client tells me, if they need me twice a week, then awesome, they need me twice a week. But if there's like other stuff going on and they're like, look, I just need a support system. I need someone to hold me accountable. I need someone to take me through these steps. Let's come up with an action plan. Where they're getting different stuff from a therapist. So so they're getting what they need there. They're getting what they need from a support group, but this is really like diving in to the
Yeah.
change of the behavior. So I map it out. I usually talk to them beforehand. I try to get as much information as I can prior to the first meeting, so that this way, the first meeting, we review everything. It's all ironed out. We're clear. We're on the same page, and then we're just ready to go.
Got it. Good. Thank you. And what else? We still have 5 minutes left in the show. What else? What other services do you want to share that you can help people with today?
So, even with addictions, like it is all intertwined. Yoga therapy, Ayurvedic yoga therapy can be a support system there. Um, but even just exercising can be a support system there.
Mhm.
Anything. It's bottom line, and I say this probably in every single podcast, is whatever works so that that person can thrive. What fits your unique you? What do you need? Because it's not cookie cutter. It's not. I think I said this in my very first podcast.
I think you did.
Because everybody, we find ourselves going in this robotic thing of like, if you're not doing this and you're not doing that
Yeah.
enough, if you can't get in 30 minutes of exercise a day, well, then that's not going to work. Well, no, that's not how
Hmm.
this works. Like, there is something that will work. So it's a creative process of brainstorming, collaborating, me really kind of evoking and focusing. It's kind of like steering the ship, like what is going to work.
Yeah.
It's
It is.
creative. It's very creative work, to be honest. That's what really is happening here at Leaping Lotus. It's a whole creative thing.
Of course. And just for those who may not know you, quickly, just a little about your background. I think it's important for us to share.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I am a health and wellness coach. Been coaching for probably over 10 years now. And I'm also a yoga therapist, Ayurvedic health counselor. I've had the gamut of personal training and a million years of that kind of stuff. Pilates, yoga itself, asana practice, yoga teacher trainings. Um, I mean, all wellness tools, aromatherapy. How does it play in? Are you taking the appropriate supplements? All of that where we can look in. So it's a real well-rounded platform. It's a lot of W's
Mm-hmm.
for someone, and we don't have to do it all in a day, and we don't have to do. It's like I told you, I had a client who called me with dry mouth, and I said, "Well, how much water are you drinking?" And he said, "Oh,
Oh.
it was one session." And I said, "Just get in as much as you can, call me back." And he goes, "Actually, I feel great." Like, I got a call back a week later. So do I have a 6-month program? Yes. Do I recommend that? Sure. I 30-minute sessions, there's Zoom sessions. Typically, I like to make some sort of facial connection. If you don't want to, we don't have to, we can do it by phone.
But
It's not a big deal, so I'm very easily accessible. We can do this however it works best with your schedule. 50 to 60-minute sessions typically work a little bit better when you're dealing with something like addiction, where there's a little bit more meat and potatoes there. But if you get to a point where you're like, you know what, a 30-minute session once a month is all I need, great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's very adaptable. Yes, there's a contract you have to fill out. Yes, there's an understanding. It's just better that way, so that it's accountability for you. It's accountability for me, so I'm doing my homework, you're doing your homework, and we're meeting together.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. We want to reach out. Is there a consultation? Can we, is there an initial charge, or is there a free consultation?
There is
It's been a while, I forgot.
Yes, there is. No, I would please anybody call with any questions. You can do a 20-minute consultation for absolutely no charge, and just see if it's for you. You never know. But you can call me at 201-903-5028. You can email me leapinglotusfit@gmail.com, and website leapinglotusfit.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being here, and looking forward to the next time we speak. And I'm glad you're back, and glad everything's going well. And thank you for enlightening us today about addictions. And my heart goes out to your friend, your Ukrainian friend, and to all those with that. Please send her my best, and to everyone in the world right now. Gosh, if everyone could just be empathetic, things would be so much different. The first topic of conversation today, right?
Yeah.
All right.
It's so simple.
I know. Well, have a good day, good weekend, and we'll talk soon.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.